Hi, I'm Dr. Chad Larson. Thanks for joining me in another episode of Keep It Real. One of the things that I want to continue doing on this show is bringing you new information straight out of research. I have access to lots of new data when it comes out. I'm always reading different journals and different journal articles, and there's a lot of great information that we could apply clinically just as it comes out of research. Sometimes clinical medicine is ahead of research, and sometimes research is ahead of clinical medicine. But one thing that's being pretty comprehensively studied is the brain. There's lots of very cool, very new information coming out about the brain, and one of the reasons is that laboratory technology is getting better and better for researchers to access different parts of the brain, different functions of the brain. And so we're learning more and more. And I focus in my practice mostly on orthopedic issues and sports medicine, but it doesn't matter what your main focus is in clinical practice. The brain is something that you have to be keenly aware of. Whether you're a podiatrist or you're a nephrologist or you're a pulmonologist, you have to understand the function of the brain, because the brain controls everything. And if you're not understanding how the brain might be influencing all the different organ systems, like for me, the musculoskeletal system, or a person's ability to heal from an injury, I have to understand how the brain can influence all these different structures below the level of the brain. And so there's lots of information coming out about Alzheimer's disease. We've already spoke on this show about some clinical aspects and some nutrient tips about Alzheimer's and some different studies that are going on. But what I want to mention is a study that was published very recently in the journal called the New York Academy of Science. And what they looked at is a very well-known aspect of Alzheimer's is the inability to regulate glucose in the brain. There's a metabolic imbalance where the brain does not utilize glucose in the brain effectively. So that's led some people to call Alzheimer's disease diabetes type 3. There's diabetes type 1, which is an autoimmune condition where the pancreas, loses its ability to make insulin, and that leads to diabetes, causing glucose to go higher and higher in the blood. There is insulin resistance diabetes, which we call diabetes type 2, and that's more of a factor of diet and lifestyle. So let's call that a disease of, civilization, or disease of improper diet and lifestyle choices. And then some people call Alzheimer's diabetes type 3 because there's a problem with glucose metabolism in the brain in people with Alzheimer's disease. So the brain, while it's only, maybe 2 to 3% of the total weight of the human body, it utilizes about 20% of the energy. And so researchers, knowing that, they try to figure out, well, the brain in some ways is starved in Alzheimer's disease, and that's what leads to cognitive decline. And so they set out to figure out, is there another energy system that they can capitalize on to help improve cognition and brain function in people who are suffering from Alzheimer's disease. And so what they know is that there's another fuel source that the brain really likes to use, and that's called ketones, or ketone bodies. In ketone bodies, there's two main ketone bodies. There's beta hydroxybutyrate and acetoacetate. And when the brain has access to these ketones, it's an excellent energy source. It doesn't need glucose when there's enough ketones floating around. And by looking at age-related controls In other words, people who are the same age as a group of subjects who have Alzheimer's disease, but they don't have Alzheimer's disease, but they're the same age. We call that an age-related control. And what we find out is that people who have Alzheimer's disease that also age-related controls that don't have Alzheimer's disease, they utilize ketones the same way. In other words, there's a potential therapeutic opportunity in people who have Alzheimer's disease. If they use ketones the same way that healthy controls use ketones, then maybe there's a therapeutic opportunity by increasing the ketones in individuals who have mild to moderate Alzheimer's disease. They wanted to find out is if that can improve their level of cognition. And so they took a group of subjects who have mild to moderate Alzheimer's disease, and they increased dietarily and through supplemental means their ketones. And there's certain dietary sources that you could pretty easily use to increase your levels of ketones, and that could be just something as simple as coconut oil. Coconut oil has lots of ketones in it, and there's a certain protocol that you'd have to follow, so that's something that you could investigate a little bit more. But just as a kind of a summary on the science of Alzheimer's disease, it's one thing that you can consider doing is looking into what we call a ketogenic diet. A ketogenic diet is one in which ketones are heavily featured in the diet, and there's also ways that you could manipulate your diet so that you produce your own ketones. You can get ketones from an exogenous source, meaning we could take ketones in through our dietary choices, or through, there's even certain ways that you can supplement ketones. And there's ways that you can encourage your own body to make ketones. Things like modified fasting. Modified fasting, meaning that it makes your body decrease your own storage of sugar called glycogen. So if you make your body use up your storage of glycogen, then that's going to increase your body's usage of your stored up glycogen, and that's going to cause your body to go into a ketogenic state. And when you go into a ketogenic state, your body's going to make more ketones, and that's an excellent fuel source for your brain. And researchers really started down this pathway because the use of a ketogenic diet has been used in a few other key, let's call it neurological conditions. Parkinson's disease and seizures. They have found out that in Parkinson's disease and in certain types of seizures, if you put the patients or subjects on a ketogenic diet, there's significant improvement in their symptoms. So now, since so many people are suffering from neurodegenerative conditions like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and dementia, that they're starting to study ketosis or ketogenic diets and ketosis, increasing ketones for healthier brain function. And so sure enough, in the study, as their ketones went up, their cognitive decline significantly went down. So that's a key therapeutic opportunity. This was a study that was focused just on ketones, but there's another very interesting research paper that was published a couple years ago in 2014 in a journal called Aging, and it was written by Dale Bredesen. And what we all know about with Alzheimer's and research is that much of the research is into a pharmaceutical monotherapy, we call it. Monotherapy means they're using one single drug. They're trying to look for one single drug that affects the brain in such a way that they could block the neurodegenerative effect of Alzheimer's. And that monotherapy has pretty much failed completely. And so Dale Bredesen, in this paper Aging, he lays out a very comprehensive list of factors that patients can use in their diet and lifestyle to dramatically change their cognition. So basically what he did was he has investigated multiple diet and lifestyle factors, and he has a comprehensive list of certain nutrient deficiencies, certain dietary imbalances that can lead to Alzheimer's. And so by following his treatment recommendations, which are very comprehensive, they include things like stress management and diet and lifestyle, and he lays them out in this study. And on his in this study, he talks about 10 subjects that he put through this protocol that have Alzheimer's disease, and 9 out of the 10 subjects that he put through this protocol significantly improved in Alzheimer's. And in other words, their cognitive decline significantly improved. And the one that did not had quite advanced Alzheimer's disease. In other words, it's probably too late to get any kind of recovery of the neurodegeneration that has already happened. So that was in a journal called Aging, and that was published in 2014. So the brain is something that we're going to continue to talk about, because it's although it's a fairly daunting topic, it's something that we have to learn more and more about, because like we've talked about, the brain affects everything else in the body. So if we can really master our understanding of the brain and be able to evaluate dysfunctions and treat them accordingly, then that could help to decrease the chance of certain neurodegenerative properties, and hopefully we could arrest a disease process even before it starts. So there's a few key things to check out. Multiple factors is going to be really the way that we go forward in treating Alzheimer's disease. And I think something like the ketogenic diet and improving and increasing ketones in the system are going to be a part of that. So I hope you learned something, some more information that you can check out. We'll see you next time, and thanks for joining me. We'll talk to you later.